With the waves of insecurity sweeping across the country, from mass kidnappings to attacks on communities, and the growing outcry over the Christian genocide being highlighted at international hearings, Nigeria stands at the defining moment. As these crises continue to shake the nation, the big question is, are our youth politically awake enough to understand, respond, and push for real change in a time when their future is not at risk? Are they engaged, informed, and ready to hold power accountable? So today we dig deeper into the political consciousness of the Nigerian youth in the face of these national emergencies. Welcome and thank you for joining us on Youth Connect, coming to you from Trust TV. I am Fatima Ahmed Musa. Now let's go on a quick break, and when we return, you get to meet my guest. Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. So today we are talking about nation building, our Nigerian youth politically conscious, with Right Honorable Samuel Peter Aye, Deputy Speaker, Nigerian Youth Parliament, 5th session. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Fatima, for having me in the studio today, and good afternoon, Nigerians.
I mean, it's always nice to have you on this show. So we are talking about nation building and asking the question if our Nigerian youths are politically awakened to, differentiate between what we see happening and how we can even hold power to account. Do you think we are really awake and engaged when it comes to these issues?
On a more general note, I would say to an extent, Nigerian youths are conscious. They are beginning to get more aware of what is happening with us politically, socially, and even economically. But we have not gotten to the peak of the consciousness that we should have as young Nigerians, particularly concerning what happens to us politically. But I think it's a journey that has begun, and if we keep at it, we will get there.
So how will you assess the current level of political consciousness among Nigerian youths, even though I've asked that question, especially with the security challenges and religious attacks happening across the country?
Well, I would say that consciousness is one thing, and then the effect it has on the people, on the youths particularly this time around, is another thing. There are people who are conscious about certain things, but conscious about them in a wrong light, right? And that kind of consciousness will not bring about positive change because the awareness they have is tilted towards the negative. But for us as a people, I think it has gone to the point where we have to be politically aware in the right direction and the right perspective, because that would help us to be able to galvanize our thoughts, be able to galvanize our ideas, our views and initiative towards nation building. Because truthfully, a lot of things are happening, especially with the security situation in the country recently. It's just as if there is a geometric progression with the attacks that we have recently. And honestly speaking, this should give every well-meaning young Nigerian a cause for worry, because the rate at which people are slaughtered, people are killed, is becoming too alarming. And if for no other reason, this is enough for us as young Nigerians to want to get to know what is happening politically in this nation, what is happening economically, what's happening religiously, because like you said, there have been outcries about a Christian genocide in Nigeria. And truthfully, people who have been directly involved are the ones who are speaking against these things and speaking out. Because for myself as a person, I'm a Christian, but I may not have had a first-hand experience of these things. But then when people speak about it, I think our authorities should be able to dig deep into it and ascertain what it is, rather than just calling it a bluff, like some people are doing currently.
So do you think the insecurity and the alleged Christian genocide, like you rightly just mentioned, have made youth more politically aware or more afraid to participate?
Well, I think it has made more young people to become more aware and even much more willing to participate. Because one thing that we are realizing now as young Nigerians is that the more we stay away from politics, governance, and leadership, the more our lives are endangered by some of the choices, some of the decisions, and some of the actions of our leaders. Take, for example, with the spate of attacks that have been increasing in the recent time, we heard that the president gave directives that more people should be recruited into the army, into the police, and the other security arms and apparatus.
Yeah.
You can imagine that we are not even thinking about addressing the core issues, how that our young people who are recruited into the military are killed on a daily basis. And then there are several questions that requires answers. And I, for one, am not too comfortable with the fact that the best that they can say at this point is to recruit more people. Have we addressed the issues? There are many officers who have come out to say that they don't even have the right arms and weapons to prosecute this war. So are we talking about those issues rather than recruiting more people? Are we recruiting people to go into the army to be killed again like the others who are being killed on a daily basis? So these are critical issues that we should be talking about as a people. And I believe that this has actually opened the eyes of many young Nigerians, and they are asking very critical questions about our security outfits and how their operations have not been able to bring an end to this insurgency that we have in the country. Most especially that you go to the social media and you see videos and you ask yourself, is it that our intelligence in this nation have lost it? Mm-hmm. Because I know that if the security agencies and their intelligence wants to pick anybody, they don't even need to sing about it. They know how to go about it, and wherever you are hiding, they will pick you up. But you have these people on a daily basis putting out videos
going live
with their faces going live on social media, and then at the end of the day, it appears as if there is a collusion between these terrorists and the people in government, because we don't understand how you have people putting out their faces to the Nigerian government. In fact, one of them came out and was threatening that they would even pick the president.
Yes.
And you can imagine things like that, and I don't seem to know whether any one of them have been arrested or even prosecuted.
I don't think so. Would have seen.
Would have seen.
The news, yeah.
So, but these are some of the issues that, as young Nigerians, we are beginning to get more interested in, because we know that these decisions are made by our leaders. And if they are not willing to, as young people, we are ready to put them on their toes by asking the right questions and then pushing for what they should do that is the right thing.
I mean, aside from them saying they are going to pick the president, I mean, they have already started coming into Abuja. They just kidnapped some people in Buhari
yesterday.
And then we know that there are insecurities that goes on within the FCT, but then they are showing that the state where the president is, we can also
invade. It's not even
invade.
safe. We can come in and do whatever we want. 6 young girls were picked just yesterday, and a 16-year-old boy here in Abuja. So we are sitting here in Abuja and we think that we're far from the areas where this insecurity is on the increase. These guys are gradually infiltrating, showing to us that our security apparatus, our security architecture is very porous and weak, that they can penetrate even into the capital city of the country. So this is something that should call our leaders' attention to know that this is no longer going to be business as usual if they will not rise up to the occasion of doing what they are supposed to do to protect lives and properties, that the young people of Nigeria will do it for themselves.
Exactly. But now you just brought me to this question that I want to ask you. Why do you think many youth still display voter apathy despite the critical issues threatening their future?
Now, voter apathy in Nigeria particularly is informed first by the rate of insecurity during elections. Now, there are many young people, there are many Nigerians who sincerely want to come out on election day and vote. But you see what happened at our polling units right before the very presence of security agents, and you ask yourself, are we in a country? Because, take for example, the 2023 election. There are pockets of videos we saw from Lagos. How that people were beaten at their polling units for coming out to exercise their civic rights of voting. Only because they refused to vote for a certain political party, they were harassed in the very presence of security men. I'll take you back to 2016. Here in the FCT, the area council elections, in my own ward, in Karo ward particularly, we held an election in one of the polling units. You see how thugs that were mobilized by certain politicians came into the premises where there were, I think, about 2 voting points, in the presence of policemen, mopol officers, these young people who came in with their clubs and sticks and matches and whatever, took to the voting point and destroyed ballot boxes, destroyed right in the very presence of police officers. So when people see these kind of things, they believe that their lives are not safe. So why should I put my life on the line to go and vote for someone? I would rather stay back in my house and let those who maybe have 2 lives go out there to vote. And this is the very primary reason why we have a very high rate of voter apathy. If lives of citizens will be guaranteed, the security of lives of citizens will be guaranteed on the day of election at the polling units, I bet you many Nigerians will come out to choose for themselves the kind of leaders that they want. So, but when that is not done, it gives people that fear and that doubt as to whether their safety out there at the polling units is guaranteed.
So, but do you think political parties are truly open to youth to participate, or are they just people, young people are still being used as statistics only when campaign or during campaign, elections are just being used as campaign tools?
The truth is, you are the one as a young person who would put yourself at a level where you'll be considered for meaningful engagement. I've always said that. You can imagine that a politician or a political party approaches a group of young people to say that, we want you people to come around and participate with us in, for example, the upcoming area council election. Questions that you should be asking as young people is participate at what level? But no, don't tell me that you want to get me involved in snatching ballot boxes, in disrupting other people's campaigns. That's not it. But like I've said before, countless times, I think on this medium, that there are many young people who don't have a means of livelihood for themselves. And that is because maybe some of them are not skilled, they are not educated enough to be able to acquire certain kinds of job. And then they're not willing to do menial jobs to help themselves. And as such, they become vulnerable to these people who know that these guys don't have what they need for their daily upkeep. And they promise 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, sometimes even as less as 500. And then people go to do all of these things. So, but for us as young Nigerians, we must understand that we don't have any other country apart from this. This is the only country we have to call our own. And as such, we must be deliberate about ensuring that we don't give ourselves out as young people to be used to disrupt the system and to cause mayhem. Because in the long run, when that happens, we are the ones who will be left with the brunt and the aftermath of our destruction and whatever we allow them to get us involved with. Political parties, a lot of times, they are manned by people. So they know the kind of people they go to. There are some young people that even if they want to engage them, they can never say to them they are engaging them on the level of disrupting elections, snatching ballot boxes, causing problems, because that for these ones, they have distinguished themselves to the point that they cannot stoop so low to participate in activities like that. So, but unfortunately, there are people who have not been able to do that. So, and I think one of the things that we must begin to do is this continuous awareness, this continuous orientation and reorientation to make young Nigerians understand that we are the ones that will build this nation.
All right. So let's go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue this discussion. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. We are discussing nation building if our youths are politically conscious with Samuel Peter. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
All right, so before we went on break, you were talking about how youths are just being used as political tools when campaigns happens during elections, snatching ballot box and what have you. What practical steps can the youth parliament take to mobilize young people to participate in governance at local and state and national level?
Now, the youth parliament has several roles that it can play. First of it is awareness campaigns. And I believe that the current session, the sixth session, led by Right Honorable Jibril, yeah, I think so, yes, is doing that. Because I know a few members in the parliament who are already putting together awareness campaign programs at their various senatorial districts. And this is to help young people at their senatorial district understand that there is much more that they can contribute to politics, to leadership, and to governance, other than just being used by certain politicians as tools to cause problems and mayhem. So, and I think this is the most basic, because, like they say, information transforms the world. When people are adequately informed of the opportunities that are there in politics, other than snatching ballot boxes, because those are not things that we should be talking about. There are many opportunities that young people can be brought on board to contribute to the success of political parties and their preferred candidates, void of any form of violence, chaos, or problems. So it is the duty of the parliament, as I know, to continue to engage young Nigerians and to enlighten them on the need for them to resolve in their hearts and in their minds that they would no longer participate in carrying out violence, perpetrating thuggery, and every other negative vices during elections. And even after elections have been done, it is our civic right as citizens of Nigeria to do what? To hold our leaders to account. And that is why I've always maintained that when people come to us to campaign as young people, we should ask them very critical questions about what they intend to achieve in office. Not to just come and, as usual, chant and shout and do this, and then we don't get to ask any questions. And when we don't ask questions, we don't have anything to hold them to account with. You can imagine somebody coming to us as young people, and then there are no commitments you're making as to what you would do if elected into office. And eventually the person is elected, and you want to now ask questions. Did I promise you anything? So if I didn't promise you anything, so what are you asking me to do for you? But if there are documents that have been exchanged and used, okay, we have this. When you came to us, this and this and this and this are the things you said you would do when you assume office. Why haven't you done them? And if you have done them, can we see them? Let's verify. Because a lot of times, we just celebrate so many things that are unverifiable. Just recently, we heard that the Minister of FCT revoked a contract from 2011 or 12 that was awarded. And that contract till now, we're in 2025, it has not been implemented, completed. He had to revoke it. So these are questions that we should keep asking as young people and then engage positively. And then to other youths who may not have been privileged to be in the parliament, because the parliament has only 109 members. So not every youth can be there at the same time. But then we should know that we have a responsibility as citizens of Nigeria, first of all, and then as young people to go about carrying out this campaign, even at our own community level, so that other young Nigerians will understand these things and key into them.
All right, so talking about holding leaders to account, how can we change this mindset of, youths holding leaders to account in a system where impunity, insecurity, and institutional failure are on the rise?
Honestly, yes, it is an established fact that we have a lot of challenges affecting us as a people, and it has also affected the level at which Nigerians are confident enough to ask certain questions that will translate to holding leaders account. One thing that I've always believed is this: he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. The truth is, when as young people we allow ourselves to be used, honestly speaking, against the system, against the Nigerian system, it will be practically difficult and almost impossible to hold these same leaders to account. We must deliberately decide that as young people, we want to do right. Now, by doing right, we will have the moral standing, right, to be able to demand accountability from these our leaders. Yes, there are people that when you speak out, as in trying to hold your leaders to account, we have seen pockets of examples of people who have been harassed using government institutions because they called out some leaders to give account as to their stewardship when it comes to leadership in their various maybe constituencies or states or even local government. But we must understand that if we fail to do that, if we fail to keep our leaders on their toes, we're killing ourselves. Because a failed system would affect everybody. So long as you are within the system, a failed system would affect us. So we must get to the point where we are deciding whether or not we are harassed by government and government agencies. We must know that it is our civic responsibility to hold these leaders to account. And it begins from asking questions. It begins from having engagements. Because people that you don't engage with, how do you hold them to account? We need to begin to demand that we have the continuous town hall meetings at the local government level, to the state constituency, to the state as a whole, and even at the national level. Unfortunately, there was a National Youth Conference that should have held. An opportunity to bring together young Nigerians to debate issues that are affecting us as a people and as the youth population of this country. But unfortunately, till today, we haven't heard anything about it. And honestly speaking, the time is right for us to have these conversations, to have this engagement, because it is as we do have these conversations that we'll be able to provide solutions, and you'd realize that things are taking shape and are changing in the country.
Yeah, talking about change, how can we ensure that the fear created by the recent kidnappings, the community attacks, and also religious targeting does not silence the voices of young Nigerians?
The only thing we can do that would enable these happenings not to is determination. The truth is, if we look at the things the way they're happening, honestly, they are more than enough to silence people and make them keep quiet. Because these things are not just normal. They are not normal with us. So, but then it takes people of great courage and determination to still keep speaking, even in the face of all of these challenges. But the only thing I would say now is our leaders who occupy office must understand that there is a responsibility that they swore to uphold. And that responsibility is to protect the lives and properties of people. So if that is not done, no matter what happens, no matter how suppressed the voice of the people become as a result of all these happenings, there are a few people who will never give up. Because to them, there's no point being alive if we can't speak about the things that affect us. So that determination is one of the things that we need as young people, no matter what is happening with us, to continue to speak and to hold our leaders to account, ensuring that they do what they swore on oath to do when they took up offices.
But what do you think can be done to change the mindset of youths with regards to politics, with regards to insecurity, and how we can protect ourselves? Because, I mean, you've seen the video of where someone came out to say there was a batter that was done. Families were kidnapped. The family that were kidnapped, that kidnapped their families, they exchanged. Do you think that should be the way forward for youths to stand and indulge in such activities?
That's not the way forward for us as a people. It only proves that our system is failing. And I don't want to believe that our system has completely failed. I'm one person who is very optimistic about Nigeria. That yes, things will get better. But they will get better only when we begin to do better as a people. When our institutions begin to work as they are supposed to. Because how should we be hearing things like negotiation
with bandits,
with terrorists who abduct people, they even kill some, they release some on the basis, collect ransom on the basis of negotiation. Honestly speaking, it's a slap on our face as a people. And sometimes I wonder if Donald Trump was wrong to have called Nigeria a country of a particular concern, or even a disgraced nation. Because truthfully, these people should be chased, should be pursued after. They should be dealt with in the way that they are causing us harm and pain in this country. There are communities that have been sacked completely. People have become IDPs in our own country because our security agents appear not to be doing the most of what they should be doing. And sometimes I'm sympathetic with the people even in the field because they have not been adequately equipped to prosecute this war. You can imagine a soldier was speaking the other day and saying when he heard the sound of the guns coming from the bandits, he knew that what they had is nowhere compared to what they have. And then you keep hearing that every year in, year out, billions and billions are budgeted for security. But at the end of the day, it doesn't translate into what we should be seeing, protection of lives and property. So I just believe that we must get to that point where we begin to do this. But honestly speaking, it brings us back to the point of the kinds of people recruit into leadership in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Samuel Peter Aye, Deputy Speaker, Nigerian Youth Parliament, 5th Session. Thank you for taking your time to be on this discussion today.
Thank you, Fatima, for always having me.
So today's discussion has shown that Nigeria's journey to true nation building depends on a politically awake, informed and fearless youth population. In the face of insecurity, mass abduction, and the outcry over religious targeted attacks, this is not the time for silence or passivity. This is the time for engagement, unity, and responsible participation. If the youth step up, Nigeria will step forward. The future is not something to wait for. It is something to build. If you found today's episode insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to Trust TV and follow us on all our social media platforms for more news, programs, and documentaries. I'm Fatima Ahmed Musa. Thanks for watching.